an exact replica of her own room.
Who are these people? Why are they here?
Why are you?
There are some people who leave this place and some who do not leave. You are obviously staying.
Big Ben.
Yeah.
Have you got a wife in England?
No.
The village?
The village is a place where people turn up. People who have resigned from a certain sort of job, have defected, or have been extracted. The specialized knowledge in their heads is of great value to one side or the other. Are you sure you haven't got a village here?
Don't miss this exciting adventure in The Prisoner, starring Patrick McGowan.
Where am I? In the village. What do you want? Information. Whose side are you on? That would be telling. We want information. 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 What do you want? Information. What do you want? What do you want? Information. What do you want? Whose side are you on? What do you want? Information. What do you want? Information.
Welcome back, my friends, to an all-new episode of Once Upon a Village, a Prisoner podcast. It is I, your number 2 here, John S. Drew, and joining me as we continue this journey through this psychedelic 60s is some newspapers, as I was looking at the other day of that time, were describing this show as our own number 6 himself, Mr. Jim Beard. Hey, Jim.
Hey, good to be back.
I did a little bit of a dive into some of the newspapers of the time because, as we were discussing in the last episode, I couldn't find anywhere online a listing for the U.S. run of this show. So I was like, all right, I've got a subscription to newspapers.com. Let me find the TV listings and see which episodes they say. And it's interesting because even then it's a little wonky because, being the United States, we didn't have simultaneous broadcasts throughout the 60s on the same night and time for some regions of the country. Like now, for instance, we're talking about the Chimes of Big Ben, which most newspapers say occurred on June 8th, 1968, which was the second showing. But then other newspapers had it listed for the following Saturday.
Oh, is that right? Wow.
Yeah.
Things were so different back then.
They were. I mean, and that went on into the 70s, because I find, for instance, you know, when I'm trying to do my dives into $6 Million Man and air dates and such, and clear up some confusion that fans have, the same thing happens because, we can't do it Sunday night because, the local big football game is on between the high schools. So we're going to interrupt, and we're going to show that. We'll show $6 Million Man like Tuesday night at 9 or something, because we don't have that airtime opened up for ABC anyway, because the network also probably didn't control the channels in their entirety at that point.
Right. I would imagine that's the case.
It's very weird, very weird. So, but I did manage to put together as best I could a broadcast list for the United States. And of course, there is one gap, because there is a week actually missing. And that was for Living in Harmony, when the network was like, well, we're not running that one. It's clearly, pointing at the Vietnam War and making a statement there. So as a result, the Schizoid Man got repeated again. 2 weeks in a row, they aired the Schizoid Man.
Yeah, it's funny because on Wikipedia, when it's talking about the episode order, and I have more to say about this episode order thing, it says, this is the sequence in which the episodes were originally scheduled to be broadcast in the UK, and aside from the exclusion of Living in Harmony, the sequence in which they were originally aired in the USA. So that's very interesting about the exclusion of that episode.
Right. I mean, we'll slide it in there as it was with the UK anyway, but it is
Yeah.
it's weird. And it's not even like they did like, oh, we'll show something else or even show an earlier episode. They repeated the Schizoid Man 2 weeks in a row. Or aired it, I should say, 2 weeks in a row.
Maybe they figured nobody was paying attention, back then, or I don't know what the ratings were like.
Well, it's funny.
Or it's such a psychedelic, like you were saying, show that maybe people, watched it and were high and thought they had not seen that one before. Who knows?
Well, it's
of all the ones to repeat too.
Right. Well, that's the thing. And we'll get to that too, where he's playing another character basically, and because they show him the real number 6 at the time, and it's
yeah.
The thing is, it was on Saturday night, and it was on Saturday night during the summer. I don't know what they were expecting in the way of ratings. I know television was a bit more. Saturday night wasn't that a dead zone as it is now. Where the networks actually use Saturday nights now to repeat fare they may have shown during the week. If you missed it once, here, catch it on Saturday night. But back then, Saturdays weren't like the total dead zone, but it is the summer at the same time that this is going on. And again, in doing my research through newspapers, looking at the reviews, some were, critically acclaimed and wonderful. And Patrick McGowan is back, and, it's wonderful to see him. And then there were others who were like, what the hell is this crap? I mean, without saying what the hell is this crap,
I can totally see that. And even the people who might have in the beginning said, oh, great, Patrick McGowan is back and everything. By the time this show was done, they were probably on the what the hell was I just watching
right.
Bandwagon. Okay, listen, real quick. This thing about the order, it really bugs me because looking at it and looking at the production numbers and then the order that they actually aired them is total BS. It's crazy the way they shuffled these around. Like the one we're talking about today, Chimes of Big Ben, is actually the 5th one made, but the 2nd one shown. And then it gets even crazier when the 3rd one shown was the 11th one filmed, A, B, and C. I'd love to know what went into the thinking about why they shuffled them around like that. And you had said something to me after watching Chimes of Big Ben that you felt that it made sense, or it did work well to go right off of the pilot and into Chimes of Big Ben. And I thought about that, and with all due respect, I honestly don't. I actually own the 2006 A&E DVD set, not the 2009 A&E Blu-ray set, which Wikipedia claims is the order. They use the official ITC sequence. But for the 2006 DVDs, they don't. They have Arrival, and then they have Free for All, then Dance of the Dead, then Checkmate, then Chimes of Big Ben. And I want to really quick, I won't belabor it too long. I actually agree with what they're saying. On the back of the case, for the one that has Checkmate and Chimes of Big Ben in it, they actually have a little thing called Episode Order Debate. I love this. It says, because of the long time frame over which this episode takes place, this story must not be treated as an early episode, even though it was originally broadcast second. And the reason they say that, and I agree with this because, and we'll get into this as we talk about the story, but the Arts and Crafts show is 6 weeks after the start of the story. And then a mention is made of a gap of months that number 6 has been missing.
Okay.
From England. So I agree with that. It doesn't feel like an early episode. Now, I accidentally went ahead and watched Free for All until you set me right. Thank you very much. They have a thing that the A&E says Episode Order Debate. The second episode to be filmed, Free for All, it says watch for a reference to number 6 as, quote, a recent recruit. And I totally agree with that. And then Dance of the Dead, he actually says that he's new here. and that somebody says he arrived, quote, quite recently. So just odd. I mean, this is not anything that would happen today. Things are planned out. We also don't have episodic TV shows for the most part. Somewhat in sitcoms, but not really. That they took these and shuffled them and decided which ones to, go earlier when it doesn't make internal sense. Just very fascinating to me. But again, I won't belabor it. We're on Chimes of Big Ben. Let's go.
Well, I'll point out to you as we go through this today where I see how it could flow from Arrival. I get what you're saying, though, and I understand, especially with the production and stuff. But then that sort of chimes in with what I was thinking in terms of how they padded this with some more episodes to maybe even make it more palatable to the American market.
Could be, yeah, sure.
I mean, and I'm just throwing out ideas here. I don't know the actual reason, but I do know I've read on various websites and such and other things about this being a show that was not meant to be 17 episodes long even.
Yeah. Here's a thought, again, before we start. They may have wanted to get Leo McKern in there quickly. That they saw him as a draw. He obviously has come away as, arguably the most popular number 2. His character is brought back at the end of the show. That's my thought right now, that they may have thought, wow, we've got Leo McKern. Let's, he did a great job and let's get him early in the show. And hopefully that hooks people even more. They keep going with the show.
Yeah, maybe. Cause you think about it, it's like there's that, and then they bring him in for the end. And I mentioned, I said, I think that end tag thing was something that may have been shot, later on and then added on to.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure. Could be. Yeah.
Could be. Yeah. But I will say this much, and because Jim, you're always asking for this, we do actually have some commentary on this.
The mailbag.
We have a mail. Well, it wasn't in the form of mail, but it was actually in commentary, and it wasn't just the usual.
Hey, I can call it the mailbag if I want. I'm old school.
It wasn't the usual, as you and I both really get annoyed with people, like when I did the postings and stuff. It wasn't just somebody going, "Be seeing you," and it's like, why are you doing that? It's like when I used to post the stuff for Batman, when we have new episodes coming up, someone would go, "Adam West," and I'm like, "Yes, that's right. Did you listen to the podcast? Can you say something about the episode itself?"
On Facebook.
It's one of mine too.
Yeah.
I mean, say something even about the episode itself. Even if you didn't listen to the podcast, at least say something relevant to the episode that, but, yeah.
Yep. So the mailbag.
Right. So for the mailbag, first off, we have a comment from Bryce Odom, who commented over on the Dragon Con page for the American Classics track. "I saw this show for the first time the summer before my first Dragon Con. I loved it so much and have dressed as number 6 every year I have attended the con." So
that's cool.
That is cool. I mean, to think that it has that kind of an impact. And I will say, I went and I watched, when watching Chimes of Big Ben, I did not see one male wearing the number 6 outfit.
You know what? And I have a note of that. And because remember, I watched Free for All and Chimes of Big Ben in preparation for this. And in both of those, you're absolutely right. And that's weird for me to go all these years, literally from the late 60s up until now, thinking that was the outfit of the Village. And it's pretty much, no, it's number 6's outfit.
Right.
Weird. Very weird. I don't know where I ever got that idea from.
And it distinguishes him.
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
In a society that he's supposed to fit in.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. Yeah. But mind you, it is the outfit they gave him because they burned his clothes.
Correct.
Yeah. Next, Stuart Aaron jumps in with, or points out here, an interesting thing about this episode is that they referred to number 6's friend by his name Cobb and not his number, which was never revealed. I guess this was to make sure number 6 would believe that Cobb really did jump out the window. If they said number 42 jumped out the window, number 6 may not have made the connection to his friend. The orderly says the amnesia case Cobb jumped out the window. Steve Connor follows up, though, and says there were a few who had names rather than numbers, like Dutton, Allison. But and we'll have to see as we go along here, was this a case of, though, members of the village, referring to a person by name instead of number? Because, there's one thing with the prisoner referring to someone by name, especially if the son, like as we'll see today with Sonia.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you something. My guess is that it's not on purpose, that it's literally just a kind of a gaffe, that the internal consistency of the writers, or they did choose that to help us know what was going on or who was being referred to. There is an inconsistency with Chimes of Big Ben that bugs me as a writer, and when we get to it, I'm going to bring it up.
Okay.
I'm wondering if that sort of thing with, we should be referring to everybody as a number since, the names have been taken away, as the song says. So, but there is what I see as an inconsistency coming up. So cool. But I really appreciate the comments, though.
And finally, from Anthony Rooney, Jim touched on the 1970s Ace novels and the way they come right out and call the prisoner John Drake. The reason for this is that authors David McDaniel and Hank Stein, who was actually Jean Marie Stein, wanted to know if Patrick McGoohan would be looking over their manuscripts. Knowing that McGoohan would object to and veto the use of the name Drake, both authors used the name in order to get a response. Well, obviously McGoohan wasn't proofreading the books, and so the references made it into print, adding more fuel to the debate.
That's just nuts. Like, you're trying to prod somebody to give you a negative reaction, right?
I've heard, of that with certain Star Trek authors too, trying to see if you're real, especially in the early days, not so much now.
To see if they're paying attention. Is that what it is?
Basically.
I mean, that's saying, let's put the name John Drake in there because we know McGoohan won't like that, and he's going to take it out if he sees it. So all that really proved to them is that, no, he's not, And you know what? I'm not surprised at all. I used to work for bookstores for more than 10 years, and I learned very quickly that, for example, with Star Wars novels, the prevalent thought was that George Lucas read and looked at everything to do with Star Wars. And I was actually told by the head of Lucasfilm Publishing that no, that's not the case, that they only went to him with some bigger type of thing, but he did not sit there and read all of that, side material. The books are official, but they are not canon. Canon is what is actually on film and made by George Lucas. So very, very interesting. Hey, let's see what we can get away with here. I love that.
Where am I? In the village. What do you want? Information. Whose side are you on? That would be telling. We want information. 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 You won't get it. By hook or by crook. We will. Who are you? The new number 2.
Who is number 1?
You are number 6. I am not a number. I am a free man.
This is probably, to me, and I think to a lot of Prisoner fans, one of the top episodes. I'll say it now, even though it's at the end of my notes. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say it is literally, to me, one of the very best endings of any TV episode ever.
Interesting. So this episode, The Chimes of Big Ben, written by Don Chaffee and directed by Vincent Tinsley, aired on October 6, 1967 in the UK and on June 8th, 1968 in the United States. And I'll tell you right off the bat, we see the morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. And what a lovely day it is. Rise and shine, rise and shine. Before our program of early morning music, here are two announcements. The long-range weather forecast is that the fine spell will continue for at least another month. Your local council, and remember it is your local council, democratically elected by you, has decided to organize a great new competition. Can you paint? Can you draw? Can you model in clay? If you can, then your day is just 6 weeks today. More about this later, but now, music.
It opens up. It's morning time. Number 6 is awakened by the music and the announcer. And I didn't get to say this in the last episode. That radio would drive me nuts.
Oh, wait, I love this. Wikipedia actually calls the announcer or whatever the relentlessly cheerful voice of the radio announcer. And it's true. If I had to hear that more than once, like, good morning, good morning, good morning, I would find a weapon in the and just go on a shooting spree.
And she goes on to talk about the upcoming art festival, but she also brings up something else I thought was interesting. She mentions the council that is elected by the people of the village. And again, that whole idea of normality or sense of control, like we talked about in the last episode with the monetary units. And now it's like, all right, here's your council elected by the people.
Okay, so listen, this bugs me because that figures into the episode Free for All, which to me should have come before this. It was made, before this one, but it really should have been shown before that.
Well, should it have been, or could it have been just a precursor to set you up for the episode?
I don't think so. Again, I don't think so. And you know what? The stuff that happens in this episode, I think would have had even more impact had we been living in the village a little longer and felt more of number 6's frustrations. Although that's obviously very, very well played in this one, I think maybe it could have had a lot more impact. But go on.
Okay, so as happens with everybody in the village at some point or another, you're observed by number 2. So he's watching, and this is Leo McKern's number 2 now, watching number 6 get up. And there's little things I caught here, like when he says, even the act of putting on his dressing gown is a defiant act.
John, I love that quote. I just love that. I actually made a note of that. That is such a great comment. And it really, really speaks to the character of number 6. Just love it. And McKern delivers it so well, too.
He does. And then because of that sort of then follows up to his next line. He's not just trying to break the prisoner. He's not trying to just break him. He wants him, as he says, body and soul. So in the end, he wants the prisoner to want to give this information, not because of duress, or it's like in the end he will come over to us.
Yeah, this is what I think maybe elevates McKern's number 2 above a lot of the other number 2s, and there's some good ones in there, some really good ones. It's an incredible, the passion in what he's doing in his job. Yeah, he doesn't just want to fulfill his directive, but he literally wants every last bit of number 6.
Yeah.
Really something.
Yep. Now, okay, as I said, I'm going to point out certain things here that to me, and again, this was, what did you say this was the production order? Chimes of Big Ben?
This is, it's number 5.
Number 5, okay. So, all right, so it's 5th down the line, but at the same time, I can make the argument that it flows along because of things that are being done here. For instance, first and right off the bat, we see number 2 has an assistant here. I mean, he doesn't play a big role, but did you notice it's Christopher Benjamin, who was in the last episode as the labor exchange manager. And you got to wonder, did he get a promotion? And since we never get names, he could be the exact same character.
Yeah. My sense of it is that it's not supposed to be the same character.
Probably not. Yeah.
This happens so much in older TV shows that they would just have these people that would be around and they'd use them, and they were never meant to be the same characters. And they maybe assumed that nobody was paying attention. It's, not with the retentive fans of genre television that we have now, that you could never get away with that. Or if you had it, you'd have to explain it somehow. But yeah, I don't think it's supposed to be the same character, but very interesting use of the actor again.
Right, exactly. And, then we move to a scene with the prisoner sitting down and playing chess with a general. And they talk about how the prisoner should give in to everything and accept what's going on. And the general speaks of his regiment. And this is why I say, again, that bit of a flow there. Because there's the prisoner going, what regiment was that? Like, he's trying to figure out, it's like, where did you come from? What brought you, as he's making the connections, because he still doesn't know who's run. And forget about even just number one. What group, what organization, what is this? Is this a country thing? Because remember, we talked about it in the last episode with the taxi driver, where he's like, what would Poles be doing here? What would,
Poles and Czechs.
Poles and Czechs, yeah.
Czechs and Poles, yeah. And I love this too. I'm gonna keep saying this. How many bits in this episode that I really love. I love that scene too. One of the things that elevates that scene for me is that the general bothers to make a comment to number 6 about, why don't you just fall in line?
Right.
Because you don't really get that very much from the other villagers, who all tend to be pretty much just sheep or within their own space, and not bothering to come out of that to say something to number 6 about the way he's acting. And that's why I love that. And yes, and I really do just so much love when number 6 turns it on him. And what regiment, what army, and the look on the general's face, when he tries to pin him down. And, what is it? What's going on? What will happen to the general if he did tell him that information, right?
Right.
Is it something the general just wants to keep to himself, just like number 6 wants to keep all of his own information to himself? Or is it that there are ramifications in the village if you do that? You tell somebody your name, you tell somebody some detail of your past. Again, I love all these questions. I don't necessarily need answers to them, but I just really, really dig that they have all these questions out there.
They are then interrupted by the arrival of a helicopter that is taking an unconscious woman off. It's interesting, and this was, again, all right, here's where I could say maybe this is a continuity gaffe rather than whether or not this episode flows with it or not. Because number 2 mentions to the prisoner, your lack of a sense of humor. But then in the previous episode, number 2 noted that the prisoner still had a sense of humor.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. It's a different number 2.
Right.
Maybe that's why.
But he makes a big deal about, we must update the files. And he even kind of downplays the files and says, whereas number 2 was more about, we know everything about you. The files are, absolute, to the point where I know you even want 2 eggs. And by the way, later on, we see a scene with number 8 and the prisoner, and she asks 1 or 2 eggs, and he says 2, which I thought was a nice little thing. We'll get into all that, how he kind of tests her to see, is she for real?
Yeah. Well, I just love what he does to number 2 about the sugar cubes.
Yes.
It's these little things that are just so fun. I love little bits of dialogue, little bits of detail like this. A quirky little thing in an actor's performance, and that's just a really wonderful thing about the sugar cubes. I really love the whole breakfast scene.
What crime did she commit?
Nervous tension, that's all. She's come here to recuperate.
How much are you charging her?
I really must bring your file up to date. Sit down, my dear chap. File number 6, section 42, subsection 6, paragraph 3. And sense of humor, strong and unimpaired. Thank you. That will be all. I can never remember. 1 lump or 2?
It's in the file.
Yes, as a matter of fact, yes. But it would save time if you just answered.
Are you running out of time?
Does not take sugar. Frightened of putting on weight?
No, nor of being reduced.
Oh, that's excellent. I am glad you're here. You really are a model.
But I don't run on clockwork.
You will, my dear chap. You will.
Do you think so?
Do you still think you can escape number 6?
Well, I'm going to do better than that.
Oh,
Going to escape and come back.
come back.
I mean, escape, come back, wipe this place off the face of the earth, obliterate it, and you with it.
Ah. Subsection 6, paragraph 4. Add. On the other hand, persecution complex amounting to mania. Paranoid delusions of grandeur.
He refuses to eat the breakfast in Arrival, but he goes along and eats the breakfast in Chimes of Big Ben.
The whole scene with the breakfast then, because he goes to number 2's house and such, and there's all that dialogue with and it's like foreshadowing in a way, because they talk of time, and prisoner makes a comment about how number 2's time might be running out, and then he goes on saying, "I don't run on clockwork," and it didn't strike me until just now when number 2 says, "But you will, my dear boy, you will."
Yeah. Isn't that great? There's another. Well, real quick, I like number 6's line of dialogue when he says what he's going to do, that he's going to come back and obliterate it,
Yes.
the village, and you with it.
Yes.
This sparring is really, really wonderful. There's another line of dialogue coming up where it said, "As you return back here in the end." So there's another foreshadowing thing going on there too. Very, very cleverly written.
Yes. Yep. And then we get, again, there's number 2 observing number 8 as she wakes up in her home, and he goes and makes the connections. "Hey, does this bring back memories to you there?" He says, to our prisoner. And I liked all that, because he's basically trying to show him, look, this is what happens to all, it's not just you. It's not just, this is, and of course he's establishing her as, she's in this as well, that possibly, as we'll see, will the prisoner and number 8 work together in some way?
Yeah. In the beginning, when number 8, Nadia, first comes in, I think number 2 is trying a little too hard to interest number 6. To me, he's almost tipping his hand.
Right.
Number 6 has lots of reasons to be suspicious of anything that that is presented to him, but the slow burn of him opening up more to Nadia is very fascinating. And like you said, the testing of her. It's fascinating that when she wakes up and she starts to come out, that who is the good member of the village to her but number 6?
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That he's the representative of the village, the helpful neighbor, to explain things. I mean, we see the sarcasm in it at all, but I think that's just really interesting. And this goes back to, I feel again like this is not an early episode as far as it feels like he's a little more comfortable in the village as much as he can be, that he can sort of, for this short time, portray a good villager helping the new person.
I can definitely see the argument then that this is later on, because then later, as we'll see, when he is free and he starts, mentioning things about the village to the colonel,
Yes.
Oh, that's work units, that's this. Like it just rattle up because he's become conditioned in a way.
Exactly.
I did like also the whole bit again. We continue with the whole idea of the art festival, the competition and everything. And number 2 points out to the prisoner, but you're very good at woodworking. The prize you got at 15.
Yeah, isn't that funny? I don't know if I can picture, our number 6 as a kid doing woodworking, but oh well, it's another fun detail.
Yep. And as you said, when he does finally meet Nadia, he's extremely cool to her. He's testing her out. But at the same time, she's just as much, what do I expect from number 2's assistant?
Yeah.
Which
exactly.
I thought was a nice little turn there.
Yeah.
She's acting just as suspicious of him as he is of her.
Exactly.
The next morning, we get another talk with number 2 and the prisoner. And in listening to them, because he says, I'll give you your freedom if you just tell me why you resign. He says, I'll give you your freedom. If that's the reward for revealing who you are, why then didn't the general simply do it? As the prisoner says, when he was talking to the prisoner, he was like, you should just give in. You should just become part of the community, all this. Why didn't the general do that before?
I get the sense that every number 2 has parameters that they can work, or they have to work within, but they also have the ability to sort of make up the rules also. They do have room to stretch out on different things. So maybe that's just the case, that this number 2, the Leo McKern number 2, can make that offer to number 6, but whoever the number 2 was in the past, wouldn't have made that to the general. I also don't believe number 2's offer. I mean, that's all it is, and he could go free with the knowledge of the village.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes no sense whatsoever, and obviously number 6 is not going to fall for that.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I thought this was interesting, too. While they're talking and such, number 2's looking at number 8's file and such, and he sees she has a background in swimming, and, of course, she's gone into the water, and she just starts making a break for it, basically swimming.
Yeah.
Control room is now ready for you.
Oh, thank you. I'll be right there.
She'll be out of range soon.
He is kept in training, I must say. Oh, well, orange alert.
So he releases Rover to retrieve her, but this time it's 3 of them. There's 1 big one and 2 small ones.
Yeah, and I did make a note of that. But wait, I want to stop you at something, because we've hit the point that there's an internal inconsistency, and at least how I see it.
Okay.
Spoiler alert, Nadia is not what she seems to be, right?
Right.
Okay, you're with me on that.
Right.
Everything we've seen up to this point has been done for the benefit of number 6, to lure him into the plot. Everything that has been done or said about Nadia, there has been other people present with number 2. They keep this farce, this whole fake thing going, but it reaches this point where number 2 is actually by himself, or he doesn't have number 6 with him.
Right.
And he looks up the thing about being a swimmer and surprise and all of this. There is no reason for that.
True.
He doesn't have to fool himself. he knows what's going on with Nadia. Who is he? There's nobody around him that he's trying to fool. And number 6 is definitely not with him.
Right.
This whole thing is to fool number 6. And I can see where maybe very few people are in on it. Maybe it's just number 2 and maybe his assistant, if even that, this plot. But they go too far, and it doesn't make sense for number 2 to be acting surprised, to look something up that he doesn't know in her file, because he, unless he got so into it that he's doing it even when there's nobody else around or when number 6 is not around. Am I making any sense here at all?
No, you're making sense. I've got 2 theories. One is absolutely bonkers, and the other one is maybe a bit more plausible. Maybe at that point he didn't know that she was,
Wow.
Maybe he didn't know at that point. Maybe she was legitimately number 8 as far as he was concerned. They brought her in. I mean, as we'll find out in the end, she was sent in to set this whole thing up and the whole thing and all. But and she even says, "I will show that in my report when I get back home," she says to number 2. Maybe he didn't know at that point.
I would say this to this, that it's improbable but not impossible. But for something that big, I think we needed to know that or see that or be told that in this episode.
Did we?
But again, I won't say it's impossible.
Did we need to know that?
I think so. I think that's pretty big. It's now,
big.
Okay, you know what? Maybe it's the writer in me that I noticed this. I just totally feel like it's an inconsistency in the writing, that there's no need for that scene because there's nobody around. Well, there's number 6 is not with him to fool him. Everything that is done in front of number 6 is important for him to fall into the trap. There's no reason to keep up the subterfuge or whatever when he's not there, and he's not there at that moment. My only other thing I could think of is that Nadia is allowed to play loose with what she's doing as long as she reaches the final objective. And maybe at that moment she surprised number 2 by doing the thing with the swimming,
Okay.
But again, I still feel like at some point we would need to know that. I suppose that the average person watching is never going to twig to this. You know what I mean? But to me, it stuck out like, hey, wait a minute. Why is he doing that? He's not fooling anybody at that moment. So there you go. It's just me.
I'm gonna take you to my bonkers theory now. Then.
Okay.
You say we should at least know that. Why? Who are you? I mean, we're drawn into this world, and basically this world doesn't accept the rules, or most of the rules of standard television viewing and what one should expect, with the exception of the odd fist fight here and there just to appease the network and such. Yeah. We're drawn into this. They don't have to give us an explanation. In the end, okay, we see she comes out, she's with them and everything, but the whole why, to me, the fact that they disregard us as much as they do number 6.
Okay, then you know what? I'm going to go back to then it's me. It's as a writer, and I will grant that most people are not going to realize that. It hit me hard. I mean, that scene was playing out, and I'm going, why is he bothering to do all this? There's nobody, like, number 6 is not with him. Who the hell is he trying to fool? But I grant you that most people are not going to sit there. They're wrapped up in the whole thing, and they're not going to sit there and think of that. Mm-hmm. To me, it's a hole. It's an inconsistency in the writing that didn't make sense to me. But it only happens at once. Otherwise, it's a great episode.
in terms of that, so she's caught by the rovers. And again, another interesting little twist, different from the last time. And as we'll see with many of the other episodes, she's not absorbed by the rover, where we see the ball sort of engulf the person and carry them back. She's smothered. She is smothered.
Yeah.
She's knocked out and then floated back with the other two small ones under her arms, so to speak, and and the big one sort of guiding the whole path and such.
Yeah, that's a really cool thing. Look, you could be looked at as many different ways. It's, boss rover with assistant rovers.
Right.
It's mother rover and kid rovers. I really love that, and it's so eerie to me the way she's dragged back. She's flat and stiff as a board and dragged back in. But yeah, that is very fascinating. It made me wonder if the actress asked to not have to press her face into that material.
Maybe.
I could totally see that if that was the case. But yeah, that is a really fascinating thing that we get to see multiple rovers.
Right. She is brought back to the hospital, and the prisoner is brought in to watch as they interrogate her. And the interrogation is basically, why did you try to escape? What's going on in your head? And it's there's this thing where they kind of are pressing her, talking about suicide and killing her. Were you trying to kill yourself?
What was in your mind? What were you thinking? Tell us. What was in your mind? What was the purpose of your swim? What was in your mind? Were you attempting suicide? 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 What was in your mind?
And the whole time she's
What was in your mind?
What was in your mind?
The guy that keeps saying that over. What was in your mind? Were you trying to commit suicide?
Right. And the whole time, though, she's just standing. Like, they don't have her seated. They don't have big lights or, it's none of the normal stuff. Instead, it's just she's standing in a room, the floor having alternating electrical current flowing through it from at different times. And so that, she could figure out with the little bowl of water how long the current lasts.
This is another favorite scene of mine in this episode. It's very devious, with the currents going through there, and the high tension and drama of when she reaches the door, but then throws herself down and saying, "Kill me, kill me, kill me, kill me." And number two, even though this is all fake, it's just so well done to heighten the tension. And he starts screaming, "No, turn it off, turn it off!" Is really something.
Right, exactly. But then it gets like, I have to wonder, other than and see, to me, this is maybe I missed it or something, and maybe you can explain it to me. So, okay, the prisoner then says, "Look, I'll participate in the show. I'll give you that much. I'll do the art festival if you let number 8 go." Okay. Yeah. All right. Soft.
No,
moment.
not just let her go, but he give her to me.
Right. Give her to me and I'll work with her. I'll, get what you need or whatever it is.
Well, I think it's more than that. I think it plays into the fake quote unquote romance then that grows after that.
Mm-hmm.
That's number 6's beginning in his program to fool number 2 into thinking that a romance is growing. I think he's almost literally saying, "Give her to me as a mate,
right.
in a way, or girlfriend, wife, partner, whatever you want to, to say it." That's how I saw it, at least.
All right, that's. I didn't think of it that way. I mean, certainly we see there are faux romantic gestures at certain points. Although towards the end there, I wondered if Nadia was laying it on a little too thick as they're both in the crates making their way, and she's asking about his marital status.
Oh yeah, it is. It's really cute that she begins to call him Big Ben.
Yes, that
I like. But yes, that is kind of silly for who she is, or who they're trying to make number 6 think that she is, this accomplished, agent and all of that. And then suddenly she becomes a schoolgirl.
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree with that one.
Right. Yeah.
This is interesting. You were talking about Arrival not having much of a story or having two clear stories, like a division between the two. I see that right now at this moment. I see that we've almost come to the end of sort of one part or story, and that this begins the second story where he's supposedly going whole cloth into the art contest.
He's going whole cloth into the art contest. He's going whole cloth into accepting her because he takes her into his confidence. They go off into the woods and, where they won't be listened to, although they're watched, though, just the same. They can still be seen, but they can't be heard. And he reveals he's going to make a boat. But now, see, this is where I got to ask you. Maybe I just totally missed this. Where does he get the idea that she knows where the village is located? And before she reveals it, where does he get the idea that he believes she knows it?
Yeah, I am not sure. Yeah, that's I'm trying to think back if there was some indication. Oh, well, she is unconscious when she's brought in.
Yeah.
On the helicopter. Yeah, no, wait a minute. Hold on. Doesn't she say that she caught a glimpse of a file?
But that's afterwards. He first has this thing of, I think you know where the village is located. And then there's that whole thing too where he says, and what government do you work for? And she goes, does it matter, or something like that? And I'm like thinking, damn straight it did. It mattered to him when he was interrogating the general before.
Yeah, that's true. It's interesting that they chose to make her Estonian.
Yes.
And there's that funny exchange when he said, "Are you Russian?" And she says, "Estonian." And he replies back, "Russian."
Yeah.
Meaning it's all the same to him.
Right. And it would be.
Number 6, as much as he is our hero and he is our focus point and we want him to get out, he can be a fairly nasty character.
Oh, sure.
He's sarcastic, which I appreciate. I love sarcastic characters. But he's dismissive. And nasty. I mean, yeah, he is in one of the worst situations you can imagine, as far as having your freedom taken away and being a prisoner for something basically that you didn't do, not a crime, but it's just a funny little thing that he can be quite a nasty piece of work.
Yes.
But yeah, you know what? I'm not really certain where that idea comes from.
Yeah, it was the one bit of confusing moment there. It was a bit. I mean, I thought, did I miss something? I went back and because she doesn't even get into the whole thing of revealing where the village is until later, after we get this quick scene of number 2 coming to check on the process, the progress of the artwork, and he sees that number 6, the prisoner, has somewhat illegal tools, but I love that bit. He's like going, but I'm sure you'll turn a blind eye to it.
Yeah, it's a funny moment. Every exchange between Patrick McGoohan and Leo McKern is gold. Practically every all the fencing. The verbal sparring and fencing is gold. And that's like that with a lot of the number 2s, and it's all very cleverly written, but there's something more special with Leo McKern. And again, I'm going to go back to the production, people knew that, and I think that's why they wanted Chimes of Big Ben right up front early on in the show. Right.
And then later, like I said, there's another bit. They're out there talking. It's the evening and such, and he's doing the little caressing and everything. And she reveals that the village is near Lithuania. So he quickly starts figuring out, based on where they could sail to. And of course, her whole thing is, and again, she comes across though that like things like that. She comes across as so sincere. She just wants to be safe. She wants to hear the chimes of Big Bill. And I thought that was charming.
Big Ben.
But she says Big Bill first.
Oh, that's right. What am I saying? Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And again, to sort of like show I guess, I don't know everything, or, like how naive I am or innocent I am. I say Big Bill. I'm so cute.
Yeah. I question number 6's idea of romancing a lady, though. It's this whole thing of McGowan wanting, family shows, and this kind of plays into the thing with John Drake, as far as he was not a lady killer, not a romancer of women, and that carries over for the most part to the Prisoner. When we recorded our first episode for Arrival, I mentioned that there was an episode coming up where the fakes, romancing. Well, this is it. See, this is funny. This made me think that Chimes of Big Ben was later on. I wonder what order I watched them originally. I really have no idea. Although my wife and I watched these A&E DVDs, and Chimes of Big Ben was later on, so that might be why I was thinking of it like that. But anyways, he gets all the information that he wants, and we're assuming that all of that is not true, though. That's not really where the village is,
right? Yeah, I would imagine that whole thing was faked, just to maybe even to give him the impression that this is more of a Soviet operation or something.
Good point. Very good point.
I don't know.
Yeah. Right, a Soviet operation with almost all
British, I know,
or UK people in the village.
And UK people working in the village too.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean. Right, yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
They should have thrown in like one Russian number 2. That would have been really fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. So the day of the exhibition comes, and we see it. It's so funny too, because all the other art exhibits are all of number 2 in some fashion,
yes.
some form or another. Even the general's chess set with the king having Leo McKern's face on it.
Yeah, it's a cute, funny thing, and speaks again to how everybody in the village is sheep for the most part. And how long exactly was Leo McKern's number 2 the number 2? At the very least, we know it was for 6 weeks. There's 6 weeks from the beginning of the episode until the actual art contest.
Yes.
So, but we get the impression that he's been there before the beginning of the episode. I don't remember. Is there any acknowledgement when number 6 first sees number 2 in this episode that this is a number 2 he hasn't seen before?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely. So, and I don't think they, with rare exception, I don't think they do. Usually number 2 is fairly well established at the start of each episode. And in terms of like, it's accepted he's been there a while.
Right. Although this is funny, obviously in the classic opening, the credits beginning sequence, we get the who are you? I am the new number 2.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
But again, John, I know I said I was going to stop harping on it. To me, it's like if Leo McKern's number 2 has been around for a little while before this is not a good episode to be the second episode.
Right. True. Okay, I can give you that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so funny. We get 2 number 2s in Arrival.
Another reason I didn't like that very much.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we get you have to wonder how much time is progressing for each number 2. Is it literally like every month? I don't know how much time transpires over the course of 17 episodes. Who knows? But like they're like really churning through number 2s. Is it literally like every month they get a new number 2? Or in the case of Leo McKern, it's actually 2 months or possibly 3 or 4. We don't really know.
Is it like, what is the criteria? Number 2 moves on when he fails just with number 6. Is number 6 the only real prisoner in this village at this point, in the sense of that he wants? Because are you a prisoner if you want to stay? Like the general, he's given in. Is he a prisoner? No, he's accepted his lot. So
that's a great point. It pretty much looks like everybody has pretty much accepted their lot.
Right.
And they're there. So it's now their home rather than a prison.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great overall question. Is the village just for number 6?
At this point.
And if so, why is this one man so important?
Mm-hmm.
We get a tiny little hint about why he resigned at the end of this episode.
Yes.
But it doesn't seem enough to carry, I know the village is it wasn't created just for number 6. It's probably been there for ages.
Well, yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah. But you get the impression that everything that's being done is for his quote unquote benefit. Fascinating thing.
Yeah. And I loved, because now we get to his artwork, and it's the boat basically broken down into its 3 pieces. The base is off to the side, the flooring, the main hull of the boat itself is upwards, and he points out that it's the entrance to a church or a chapel. And I love that. And then they said, what is it? And to me, he says the one line that encapsulates the entire series.
Number 8. Number 6, I've just come from the exhibition. The awards committee are intrigued with your abstract, but they're a little mystified. Could you spare a moment to give them a word?
Certainly, great pleasure. Yes, I'll be right back.
Excuse us. Remarkably high standard, don't you agree?
Well, highly original.
Ah, General. Excellent.
I've seen your stuff, number 6. I didn't like it. Bound to say so.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Is this your chess set?
Oh, it's nothing.
It's very good.
Yes, I quite like the king, I must confess.
The king? Yes. First class.
I'm glad to see you're settling down, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And here he is, our very own Epstein.
Can I help?
We're not quite sure what it means.
It means what it is.
Brilliant. It means what it is. Brilliant. Oh, no, you mustn't let me influence you. You are the awards committee.
What puzzled me, number 6, was the fact that you'd given the group a title. Escape.
This piece, what does it represent to you?
A church door.
Right first time.
I think I see what he's getting at.
Yes. This other piece here, of the same general line, somewhat more abstract, as you'll notice, representing freedom or a barrier, depending how you look at it. The barrier's down, the door is open, you're free. Free to go. Free to escape. To escape to this, the symbol to human aspirations. Knowledge, freedom, escape.
Why the cross piece?
Why not?
Good, splendid. I was really quite worried for a moment. The only thing I really don't understand...
Yes?
Where is number 2?
It's exactly right. Patrick McGowan's delivery on his whole explanation of his art is really, really something. And I don't know why it tickles me so, but I just really, really like that whole sequence. Because, again, he's being sarcastic.
Right.
It's a statement about the pretension of art and art critics and artists and the whole high art, fine art world. That he is making these remarks and the judges are being completely serious, and he's saying, and this piece here, and means, but yeah, you're right. That's a really, really good point. And kudos to you for bringing that out.
And I got to ask, 2,000 work units as the top prize for an art festival? That could set you up with a lot of non-alcoholic vodka.
Yeah. You know what I wrote in my notes? Really big. Poor number 38. I feel horrible for that woman. Just horrible, because she seems very sincere. She seems like a very nice lady. And she didn't really deserve what happens to her art piece. I don't know what it is. My heart goes out to her, and her being more or less, mocked or duped by number six. I'm gonna think about her for quite a long time now and worry about her and her feelings, and pray that she never finds out what happens to her artwork.
Hey, she got 2,000 units for it.
No, it doesn't matter. No, she was a true artist. Don't you see?
Yeah.
that was superfluous, oh, that poor old woman. And who was she? And why is she in the village?
Well, she's given in too.
Yeah. What was she? The cook in the cafeteria or the commissary at MI6?
Who heard just a little too much.
Yeah, right. She overheard all the talk of all the secret agents who went through her lunch line.
Right.
I think there's a story there.
There you go. Well, after the festival, that night, the two head to the beach. They assemble the boat and make their way out to the water.
Yeah.
Now, again, this is where I get a little fuzzy. Rover's sent after them. That I can get. But
wait. Why?
Why is Rover sent after them?
Why is Rover sent after them?
Because it makes it look good.
For what?
That their escape looks legit.
Well, what was the risk if they don't send out Rover? That number 6 would go, this is too easy, let's turn around.
Well, okay, I'll give you that. It's not like he'd say, let's go back, something's wrong,
Yeah, But shouldn't they have sent Rover out after us? Like, I guess I'm nitpicking, but again, it's like it's sort of this creeping inconsistency in here. But I'm going to let it go because we get Rover again. That's fascinating. I love it when the guy shoots at Rover.
See, there's the thing: the guy Carell who knows Nadia. That to me was a bit more too obvious and too on the nose right off the bat than Rover. Rover at least made sense to me because it's like, we got to cover, because he's going to ask, where's Rover?
Yeah.
But who is this guy that he suddenly, and he's like waiting on the shore. How did he get a message that he was to be there at that particular time with a gun? See, to me, that bothered me more than Rover itself.
You know what the answer is?
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Oh, man. I'm like, no, let's go back. Let Rover take me home.
You would do great in the village. You should be taken prisoner in the village because you would question everything.
But
we should both be sent to the village, and we would break that place.
Because I don't remember her saying, I'll get a signal out or anything. Because what is the next thing that happens? He happens to have 2 crates conveniently ready to deliver them to England.
Yeah. You know what? You've ruined this entire episode for me, man. And
here's the thing. None of this clicks with him. Instead, it's later on. How is it that I got handed a watch that is the exact British time? And it's like, dude, really? That's what tipped you off that something was wrong here?
It is what it is.
Oh, and then we just get that whole, it's a long sequence. It goes on with, and you think, okay, maybe this is going to be genuine because she's going on because they're talking in between at various times. She wakes him up to check the time and stuff. And are you married? And, what's your status? Is there and you think they're really going to get away.
Right.
Right.
They went to a lot of trouble to fool him once they're in the crates.
Yes.
Which I don't have a problem with, but I did remark to myself, like, wow, they put them on a plane, and the plane just flew around for a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it comes, spoiler alert, it comes back to the village.
Right.
It's on trucks, or transport. It's on a plane. They they flew all around, wherever it went, and then came back. Here's a funny little thing. Conjure up in your mind the way number 6 and Nadia are in the crates.
Mm-hmm.
The way they're lying in the crates, where their heads are at, right? Can you picture that?
Sure.
You're looking at the screen. He is on our left. She is on our right, with the tops of their heads, in our foreground.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. They get taken into the office. Crates are opened up. They're set up, and then the crates are opened up.
Okay.
Right? They must have opened the bottom of the crates, because he is on our left and she is on the right side of the crate. Right?
Yeah.
The only way that would be possible is if and it could be, they set the crate up and they opened up what would have been the bottoms to those two people. Isn't it funny how we both notice different
things,
like weird oddball things? The other thing is I love the character of and I always massacre his name, Fotheringay. I love that name for one thing, Fotheringay. He's a guy that's in a movie that's very special to me. I love it, Casino Royale, in the 1960s Casino Royale.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Yeah, the David Niven, Peter Sellers Casino Royale. And the guy who plays the Colonel is very familiar to me also.
His name is Kevin Stoney.
Yes, I see that now.
Yeah, Kevin Stoney and here's my Doctor Who connection this week for those who are into Doctor Who. Appeared in quite a number of early first, second, and third Doctor Who, those doctors, their adventures as different characters. Usually, in fact, I can't think of one now off the top of my head, usually the bad guy. One where he's working with the Daleks, another one where he's working with the Cybermen. He plays actually basically a Lex Luthor type character in his second Doctor adventure where he sells out the Earth to the Cybermen.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow, the guy that plays Fotheringay, Richard Wattis, his credits are amazing. Oh, he was in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Hmm. Oh, that's who he is. Yeah, he's the secretary at the candy factory. Oh, that's so funny. Maybe wait a minute. That's who I'm thinking of. He's not in Casino Royale. Sorry. Oh no, he is. He's the British Army officer in Casino Royale. Never mind. Yes, he is. That's so funny. Okay, so here we are, right? We're in the offices, right?
Right.
He sees Fotheringay. He sees, we're talking about number 6.
Right.
He sees the Colonel, right?
Yep.
These are not duplicates. These are not people playing these people that he knows. These are the actual people he knows. Now, I'm not trying to call out an inconsistency here, not at all, but it's something that boggles my mind. He knows these people from work.
Right.
But they're in on it.
They're in on it. Exactly.
It goes that far into the hierarchy of the British, whatever it is, secret, the Secret Service, the espionage division, security, whatever. It's that deep.
Yeah.
We don't see it, but I can only imagine that's just how many more very big nails in the coffin of number 6's brain when he realizes the huge ramifications of this whole thing.
And it also then makes you, and again, I'm making the statement off the top of my head, not having watched the show in quite some time, how he ever comes around to trust anyone.
Yeah.
You know, in the rest of the series after something like this.
Well, here's where we get the crux of the whole thing. He's back. The colonel says,
"All I know, old boy, is that you resigned from a post of the highest possible secrecy in this country, refused to give your reasons, and then promptly vanished."
I was kidnapped.
Oh, really? How dramatic. And then, after a gap of months, we suddenly receive a suitably coded message that you're coming back from the other side of the Iron Curtain.
You think I've gone over?
And come back here to carry on the good work.
No.
No, he says, no, niet. Niet. What sort of imbeciles do you think we are?
What do you want me to do?
Quite a lot of things. But let's start at square one first, shall we? First, why did you resign?
It was a matter of conscience.
Oh, listen, sonny boy. Do you think you're safe in London? If they thought it worth kidnapping you, it's worth killing you. I doubt if you'll be alive 24 hours after you leave this building, unless you get protection. Do you want it?
For the girl as well.
If you come across with the goodies, yes.
Political asylum guaranteed for the girl.
Well, that depends.
It depends nothing. It's guaranteed.
All right, so long as you keep your part of the bargain.
All right.
Right, question one. Why did you resign?
and to me, this scene is it gives me anxiety because they're so close to getting what they want.
They're so close.
They're within a hair of getting it. But to me, like that guy, the colonel, it's like he could push it too far with just a few words. And I'm thinking, this is so funny. I'm rooting for number 6, but I'm also going to saying to the colonel, play it cool. Play it cool. You're moving a little too fast. Step it back.
See, I thought he was brilliant.
You're gonna blow it.
I thought he was brilliant because he uses the exact, like he says, you resigned. Why did you resign? Because look at the optics. I mean, he doesn't say use that word, but look at the optics. You resigned, then you disappeared, and suddenly you show up in my office having returned from the Iron Curtain.
Yeah.
Why did you resign?
Yeah.
You've got to. And to me, that was brilliant.
And it's great because the colonel is a jerk.
Yes,
he's a big jerk, and again, he's not playing a sympathy card, comfort, anything at all. Glad you're back, whatever. He's being hard, on it. So he obviously, we don't know the character of the colonel before this, but obviously this is how he is because number 6 doesn't think anything strange, about it at that point.
Right.
But, and then the chimes of Big Ben.
Yeah. And the realization that his watch is set to British time. Why would Carell, the man who gave it to him, have it set already to British time?
Yeah. So here's the question. Who screwed up? Who blew this entire project, plan, plot?
I would think it was Carell.
I would think so too.
Yeah.
I would think Carell is dead now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I would think so.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, number 2. Okay, so it's all blown, and I love that. And the scene where he marches away, and I love it because the colonel just barely even bothers to try to stop him. He realizes it's all blown now.
Yeah, exactly.
And he comes up to the double doors. And he throws them open, and we look directly out into the village. What a moment.
Mm-hmm.
What a moment.
Yep.
And the ramifications are huge on both sides. For number 6, everything he went through is for nothing.
Right.
He's right back where he started from, square one. And with the knowledge that his own bosses are in on it.
Right.
That deeply in on it. They are part of whatever is behind, or whoever's behind the village. Completely part of it. And then for the village authorities, they just put, they just had an entire huge plot with so many moving parts over a long period of time, shot down in flames because of one single gaffe by, we assume, one person.
Right.
So just stunning. And one of the most delicious moments of all is the way number 6, he doesn't get mad. He doesn't flip out.
No.
I love it the way he just
he
walks.
doesn't give them the satisfaction.
Right. Just be seeing you and walks back to his dwelling.
Yep. With the snap of his fingers.
Just stunning. This is why, all of that is why I say this is one of the best endings of a TV episode of a show of all time.
I agree. I totally agree. I mean, the plot points that you and I have been picking out and saying, but it's still one of the more, and out of the whole series, one of the better episodes put together for the whole series.
Yeah. And I kept saying they moved it up because of Leo McKern, and I'm going to still say that's part of it, but it's also because, they probably put this one together and went, man, how are we going to top this?
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, on the one hand, it's like, we can't have him trying to escape every week and resetting and, because that could get tiresome after a while. But if you could do it in such a way that's so soul crushing, like this is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, right. And you have to ask, like, how could he ever trust anybody at all, ever, after this moment?
Right.
Even, you have to assume that in his head, he has said, when I escape, I'm escaping not back to England, but I'm going to go to, whatever, the Bahamas, wherever that photo was that he slaps in his, suitcase before he's kidnapped in the beginning. He's probably saying, okay, I'm going to escape, but where? Where am I going to go? I have to drop out of the world.
Right.
For forever, basically. I can never trust anybody ever again. There's no point in going back to England because his bosses are in on it.
Yeah.
He's got to be asking himself, how high up does this go? Is the prime minister in on it?
And what do you do next when you have an opportunity? What happens then?
Yeah. There's an episode coming up where we get an idea of what he would do if he escaped.
Right.
And I'm not fond of that episode, but I won't get into it now, but we'll see this coming up. I go back to what he said to number 2, Leo McKern. I'm going to come back and I'm going to obliterate this place and you with it.
Right.
He's probably just dialed that up to 11 now, after the end of this one.
Yeah, exactly.
Wipe this place. And you know what? He may then say, and then I'm going to blow the British government wide open if he can. Who knows? I think he's tenacious enough to at least attempt it. Yeah. So, good episode.
Very good episode.
Despite all the nitpickings that we did.
No, definitely. And, if you weren't hooked by episode 1, episode 2 should definitely have you wondering what's going to happen next. Based on the order that they showed them.
Yep. And you know what? And again, I guess that I'll admit that might reinforce why they put this one where they did.
What did we say was supposed to be number 2?
Free for All.
Okay. So that'll be interesting when we get to Free for All. Does that hang as well as a follow-up episode to really keep your audience engaged?
Yep. Good. Because I have some thoughts about that.
Now, here's the thing, though. Next episode isn't Free for All.
No, it ain't.
It's not. According to the British and the American broadcasts, it was A, B, and C.
Yeah.
All right. So again, strong episode, despite our nitpickings and stuff. Definitely now giving me, because when we did, I'll be honest with you, when we did last week's episode, I said maybe I went in a little over my head and saying let's do this one, because that it's one thing to sit and watch it and appreciate it yourself. It's another thing to sit and podcast about it, being as in depth as it is. And I'm also thankful for the fact that, you know, the response so far has been positive. And I'm fine with negative response. If there's something you don't like, say it. But I'm glad that so far we've been well received.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think it's literally because of this show. People are passionate about this show. People love this show. And I think, you know, we're going to be tapping into that, and I hope we get more comments. And I know people are not going to like everything that we say, and we know that from experience on Green Hornet.
Yes.
But you know what?
And Batman.
But you know what? Dialogue is important, just like it is in this show. So we want to hear from you.
That's right. Whether it's on the Facebook page or the various areas I post the episode to on Facebook, or if you want to on the website at chronicrift.com, or by emailing us at chronicrift@gmail.com. Let us know what you think of the episode.
Seeing you.
Good evening, citizens. Your local council wishes to announce another exciting competition. The subject this time, seascapes.
File number 6, section 42, subsection 1, paragraph 1, back to the beginning.
You were right about him.
I told you.
Don't worry. It was a good idea and you did your best. I'll stress it in my report.
And Jim and I will be back next week when we'll be talking A, B, and C. Until then, this is your number 2 saying, be seeing you.
Be seeing you.